What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel for another Steam Deck video, and I thought in this one we would go over some reasons to possibly still pick up a Steam Deck in 2023. I know there's a lot of you out there still either saving money or on the fence or whatever the case may be about grabbing a Steam Deck or maybe a handheld PC in general. We have a lot more competition out there than we used to, but these days for me it's really between the ASUS ROG Ally and the Steam Deck. This video is not going to be about which one of those to choose. I personally daily drive the Ally more than I do the Deck these days, but I use both of them a lot every day with the channel and with personal gaming. So in this video, we'll focus on about 8 reasons to still grab a Steam Deck in 2023, and while it's still a very relevant piece of hardware and one that I use all the time. Now, one of the first reasons I want to talk about is price and barrier to entry. So I'm not a fan of the 64GB model Steam Deck in any way if you're going to buy it and use it that way. I know for some people that works out just fine, but you get about half of that 64 gigs when you get it, and I don't like relying on the SD cards personally, and you still take up space on that SSD even if you're using SD card. So there's not a lot of wiggle room there. If you're going to buy this 64 gig model, I do like to plan on grabbing an SSD, even if it's a 256 or a 512, 1 gig, whatever you feel like you're going to need. I do like to plan on upgrading that. But here's the thing, even at the sale price, you're getting a great deal, or at the normal price of $399, you're going to get a great deal on that model. And you can grab an SSD these days for anywhere from 50 to 150 bucks, depending on the capacity that you want. So it doesn't add as much cost as it used to when this device launched to get an SSD upgrade. So the 64GB model and anything like a 256, 512, 1 gig, or 2 gig if you want to go all out, will give you a great deal and keep your cost down on getting into the Steam Deck. Now, I'm a fan of the other two models as well. I have the 256 and the 512 model. I got the 512 because I wanted to try the matte screen and I wanted the space without doing an upgrade on that model and that type of thing for me personally. My other Steam Deck, the 256, is been changed to a 1 terabyte, and I do dual boot on that, and a really easy, really fast upgrade there. So price and barrier to entry, it's really difficult to beat the Steam Deck's price, even if you're doing an SSD upgrade, or if you don't want to do that upgrade and you're buying a more expensive model. It's still a great price for the product that you get. Something else that's a great price, today's video sponsor. Today's video sponsor is Maximum Settings. They offer a Linux-based cloud gaming PC that you can connect to with almost any device using Moonlight. I've tested them for a few years here on the channel and have always had a great experience. They've recently added monthly packages, which I think is a great value for customers and something we've been asking for, but also maintained their hourly rates as well for those who would rather go that way. So there's options there for you. Of course, you get a full-blown desktop here with Linux, and you'll have things like Lutris, Heroic, and Steam, and others to really manage all of your launchers and your games, and it works really well. If you are coming over from the Steam Deck, a lot of these processes will feel familiar to you. Their gaming performance has been really good, especially on their higher-end hardware, and they're always looking to upgrade. You can jump in and play a lot of your favorites and expect some really good performance, and you're able to use Moonlight to really tweak your experience. I'm happy to see a company really take the reins and put a gaming PC for Linux in the cloud. If you're interested, there'll be a link in the description to go check them out. I would say our second reason for going ahead with a Steam Deck in 2023 would still be just the ease of use. Now, I am a Windows user primarily, but I had to learn a lot about Linux and SteamOS and the whole Steam Deck setup when I got it last year at launch. And I've come to really appreciate what Linux has to offer and what they do there with that OS, and what SteamOS has really turn that into, and making the Steam Deck more of a console-like experience. And I will say, out of all the handhelds that I've used that are in the PC genre there, the Steam Deck definitely is one of the easiest to just pick up and play. If you're more focused on Steam games and you're not worried about trying to play games that aren't necessarily supported, or adding a bunch of third-party launchers like Epic and Battle.net and all of that, which are easy to do, but some people are intimidated by that type of thing because you can't just install it like you do on Windows. There's a process, and I have guides and stuff like that on the channel for all of that. But for ease of use, to just buy the product, turn it on, load into Steam, log on to your account, start downloading games that you see that you can play on the Steam Deck, it really is fast and easy when compared to other devices like Windows and that type of thing. So ease of use is a big one for still grabbing up a Steam Deck here in 2023. Now, number three is probably one of my like really big ones. One of the things I love about the Steam Deck and why I don't mind working on the Steam Deck, and that's the repairability and the availability of parts. Their partnership that Valve has with iFixit to be able to get basically every part you would need to build a Steam Deck, fix a Steam Deck, is really nice for us enthusiast and DIY type that really want to, upgrade our, even if you're doing something simple, with an upgrade of the SSD. I've seen people break parts even doing that, and you can just order those, get them, replace them yourself, and it's really easy to do. So the repairability of this device, the upgradability and that type of thing, it's just, it is not really comparable to any other handheld out there, in my opinion, right now. Valve, iFixit, the setup for the Steam Deck, it's really hard to beat the repairability and the availability of parts for this thing. So I'm really not worried to jump in and work on the Steam Deck. Now, I would say number four kind of goes with number one with the pricing and barrier to entry, but that would be how easy it is to upgrade your SSD. The price of those has really come down. It's more enticing to grab a 64 gig model now and upgrade it than it really ever was. Like I said, I've seen SSDs, I've seen 256s for like $50 or less. I've seen 2 terabytes for like 130 on sale here or there. And anywhere in between all that. So prices have come down there. So that's a lot more enticing than it used to be. And Valve's re-imaging process is also really easy. There's a video on the channel for that, to re-image your Steam Deck. I've done it over 24 times easily with both Steam Decks, tinkering and having fun and changing SSDs. I've re-imaged a ton, and it's really easy to do, and I've never had it fail. I haven't bricked a deck yet, bricked a deck yet. Yeah, it's been great. So their re-imaging process and how easy it is to upgrade the SSD, I think, is just another great reason, another great thing about the Steam Deck. Number five for me isn't as much about the actual product itself as much as the support that surrounds it. So Valve's customer support on this product has been really good so far. People have had to do the RMAs, switch out devices, they've had problems, different things like that. Valve takes care of things pretty well for the customer. Games as well, returns on games, refunds, things like that. I like their customer support. The other thing is the Steam Deck gets two things. It gets support from the Valve community and the fans of Steam, which is awesome, but it also gets the support of the Linux community that come in and help with SteamOS. And I know when I was first learning and even getting my guides together in the beginning, those communities combined were really powerful for me getting to know people and getting to know how to use the device. There's a ton of resources out there and people that are willing to help you with this device. So Valve's own customer service to back the product and the two communities out there between Steam and Linux are excellent when it comes to owning one of these devices. For me, number six, I would say that this device is still a good low TDP monster. Now, I use the Ally a lot, but I'm a high performance person, so I don't care anything about battery life. That's for me personally. If I'm getting an hour, I'm good for my own personal gaming when it comes to handhelds. I'm either near a charger or can charge or have a power bank, or I'm at home, or whatever the case. But for everybody, that's not always going to be the case. And the Steam Deck can offer better battery life. Not as much in the AAA area, maxing everything out. I get like 60 to 65 minutes on my Ally and 80 to 88 minutes on my deck if I just flat out run them the highest each can run. But if you lower TDP and you really want to bring down wattage, you want to do remote play, cloud gaming, browsing, emails, easy to run games, lower FPS games, that type of thing, tweaking the Steam Deck is fairly easy to do, and I've seen people get 6 to 8 hours on streaming their PS5 or doing some remote play. Easy to run games, getting 3, 4, 5 hours. So those things with the lower TDP performance items and that longer battery life for people who travel or maybe are away from home a lot, or maybe kids going to school and that type of thing, it might mean more to them on the Steam Deck. So it does have some of those advantages when you talk about the lower range, the lower TDP battery life. I would say for me, number 7 would be the relevancy of the hardware. Now, we're a couple generations behind now when it comes to the Steam Deck. Its hardware was behind the 6000 series Ryzen, the 6800U by a bit, and also the new 7000 series. We're almost 2 gens behind on some of the aspects of the hardware, and by next spring, about 10 months from now, will be 3 generations. So I expect a new Steam Deck is on the way by next spring. I would hope so, and I'll certainly be pre-ordering it right away. I want to have a Steam Deck with the next gen. Having the Ally and that kind of hardware, I really want to see that or beyond the 8000 series in the next Steam Deck or some kind of custom build of it. But I think the hardware now is still very, very relevant when it comes to the Steam Deck, because I still test a ton of games on here. I'll continue to test this device on the channel for a long time, along with the Ally, and it still plays games extremely well. There are some newer, very difficult to run games that don't run as well as I would like them to. Not every game runs great, but so many games do run so fantastic on the device, some new, some old, that it is still, even a year and a half, almost a year and a half later, a very relevant piece of hardware, and it will be for a couple of more years, depending on what games you're trying to play. Of course, that is a bit subjective, but the hardware itself for everything prior and up to now in 2023, and for a lot of games, very relevant still, and I wouldn't feel that bad investing in it, even though it's just a little bit behind where we are when it comes to the APUs. And our eighth and final reason for me is more of a personal passion, and that's with emulation, something I haven't ever really covered here on Game Tech Planet very much. And let me know if that's something you guys might be interested in. Maybe we'll bring some emulation videos. But for me, I've been emulating games for well over 15 years. It's been a big passion of mine. And the Steam Deck, along with like EmuDeck, is probably one of the best emulation setups I've used in a handheld, like a handheld PC. I'm using the new version of EmuDeck over on the Ally as well. Really cool, really streamlined for Windows. There's a lot of work to go on there though to make it as good as what happens on the deck. EmuDeck over on the Steam Deck, along with all of my different games from all different systems, from Atari to Virtual Boy to PS3, Xbox, whatever I want to run, it does a great job for me. And I play a lot of older retro games like Super Nintendo, Sega, NES, a lot of older games from my childhood, N64, GameCube. That's all my kind of stuff that I like to emulate and play a lot. And the Steam Deck is a monster at playing all of those games. And EmuDeck combined with that, this just makes for a fantastic emulation experience. So for me, even though I daily drive the Ally a little bit more these days because of performance, when I go to emulation or wanting to play my older games, I instantly pick up my Steam Deck and I go for it right there. That's just my place to play emulation right now. Well, all right, guys, that's going to wrap up this video. I just wanted to throw out 8 reasons that I think the Steam Deck is still worth a buy here in 2023. If you don't want to wait for the next version of Deck that's probably inevitably on the way, and maybe you don't want to lean towards Windows or the Ally or whatever the case is, you want to go with that Steam Deck, the tried and true that's been around for almost a year and a half. I still think it's a great grab. If you can get it during the sale, it's even better. We don't know when we'll see the next sale on the Steam Deck, but even without the sale, still great to grab it up. SSD prices are down if you want to grab the lowest model and upgrade. And I've had 2 Steam Decks for almost since launch, and so far I have had no problems, 0 problems with either one of them. And that's with a bunch of taking apart and tinkering and reimaging dozens of times, changing SSDs and all of that. Again, comes down to repairability. I'm not really afraid to open these up and work on them, since I can just order the parts. But anyways, guys, thanks a lot for coming to check out the video. I really appreciate it, and I'll see you in the next one.